Hello, welcome back to Pen Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for continuing to follow me as I explore the wide world of pens. And again, there are always an incredible amount of new pens to explore. I do my best to try to show them to you. This video is going to look at an old favorite that has now been added to by using some interesting new acrylics. You may recognize this as a Kaigalu 316. It has that distinguishable logo with the kangaroo and a little baby in its pouch. These pens are very well made. They're never a disappointment. They are on the heavy side. So for those that like light, smaller pens, this is not a pen for you, but this acrylic is amazing. My item, my pen, arrived very quickly. And this is that Orange Connects, which is shipping that eBay has set up. United States Mail does the last mile, so it comes in my mailbox, and I get good tracking. Here's an email telling me the pen was delivered. The pen was just wrapped in this bubble wrap inside of that packing envelope, which also had bubble wrap on it. And here's the cellophane sleeve, and we'll give you the translation of that Chinese below the barcode. I wanted to take advantage of some sunlight coming in. I mean, this is cold yellow. There is yellow there, but there's so many other different colors and patterns and designs. I like it. The cap comes off in a little bit over 2 turns, which is nice. And we'll see one of those excellent Kaigalu medium nibs. I have a few of those, and I enjoy writing with all of them. I've actually bought some extra Kaigelu medium nibs just to have. You know, this is that classic dual fold design that I've talked about many times before, with the black finials, top and bottom, black section. These pens are all great in the hand. They work extremely well. Unposted, nice size section. They do post, but it makes for a very long pen. And to me, it is usable, but I would prefer to write unposted. And it's pretty much about perfect that way. Here I've taken apart the Kaigelu 316. I haven't disassembled the converter, but I'm fine with the way it is. And I think it's extremely well-made converter. You have that kind of silicone insert there with that metal band around it. It does have a steel ball, or a hopefully stainless steel ball in there, which I think is a better agitator than a spring or any of the other things. And this should just unscrew, and it does. So you can easily take it apart to clean it or lubricate it. And I like the fact that it's a clear piece here to move the piston up and down, because in this transparent barrel, you like that. The other thing I like is that the nib assembly has a nice little insert to it, so the converter really fits very securely, very snugly with that converter. Yes, very snugly. It's just a standard injection molded plastic feed. Nothing fancy there. I do like the nib. Nice two-tone. Really enjoy their logo. Hopefully the baby kangaroo is doing well. And it's a medium. There's a lot of brass in this pen. And as I look inside here, there's an O-ring floating around. There it is. So there are... Oh, the O-ring broke, so I have to replace it. So there is an O-ring here at the bottom of this nib assembly, and to me that's the most important O-ring, because when you dip the pen into ink to fill it up. You don't want ink going around and this nib assembly, because that could cause some leaks later on that you're wondering what's going on, and it's not really a leak. But I'll look to put that, replace that one O-ring here that fits here in the top above the threads in that groove. We're going to dim the lights and use the LED to explore this resin. So now we just have some very diffuse sunlight. It's snowing here now. If we bring the LED in, we can see how it plays on that resin and shows off this buoyancy and the swirls. And this is definitely heavy, because I'm pretty certain that finial there in the back is brass. If we look inside the barrel, hopefully we can see that, there we go, down in there is brass. This is an extremely well-made pen, fairly thick resin. And if we put the light inside, we'll see how translucent that resin is. It's just nice. And we'll notice the same level of quality in the cap. It's just really nice. You know, and even with intense light on it, you can still appreciate the detail. That logo has not changed in the 4 Kaigalu pens that I have. You know, extremely sturdy clip, very functional, nice spring to it. And if we look inside here, we'll see that same brass at the bottom. And we'll also see a machined ledge in there that seals up against the end of the section. So there's a very small area for that nib to set in, and it stays wet fairly long. That's our exploration. O-rings come in many sizes, and when I had opportunities and saw them on eBay, I bought as many as I could. So I ended up using one of these very fine black ones to fill in that groove above the threads. I tried one of these white ones, but it was a little bit too thick and it wouldn't screw into the section. So I'm glad I have a lot of choices on O-rings to use. Yes, this pen is crab and turntable worthy, if any a pen was. I'm taking advantage of some nice afternoon sun coming in the window in addition to my LEDs. There's a lot of lumens on this pen, and it certainly does those lumens justice by giving you a nice view, changes the chatoyancy and colors, and it is nice. We're going to zoom in a little just to see how that resin holds up under some scrutiny, and it holds up well. Here are my 4 Kaigelu 316 pens that I'm very happy to have in my collection. And these are ranked in chronological order. This is the first one, which just has a incredibly amazing resin in it, a lot of chatoyancy and color. My second one, more subtle, and a lot of them came with this tag on it and came in nice boxes, but not all of them. And from my viewpoint, I buy it for the pen, not for the accessory items that may come with it. My third one is this ivory one, which is just a classic. Again, a fair amount of chatoyancy in the resin. Extremely well done. Kind of reminds me of a dark paint, but instead of a clear base resin, it's a white ivory type resin. And then, last but not least, is this incredible yellow one, which we'll take a look at it under the LED lights. No sunlight at this time because it's dark outside. So that's my 4 Kaigelu 316s, and I enjoy all of them. All of them have the medium nib because that's what I prefer. It does come in extra fine. Here's a look at that extra fine. And also, here's a look at some of the other new colors in the Kaigelu 316 series. They are pretty interesting and look pretty good. The other thing I like about the engineering and design of this pen is this section is keyed. There's a flat spot there, and the top part here is a little bit cut out for the nib, and you'll see there's a flat spot on this feed. So you need to line those up, and the feed only goes in one way. So it's very easy to put this back together and make certain that feed and nib are in the right position. I like it. The other little aspect, again, it's the details that make it nice, is this section is where they've labeled the pen maker and the model number. Very impressive. Kind of reminds me of, I think Cross does that. So it's a really high-end feature. And the other thing you'll notice is this converter sits very deeply in that section. As like I mentioned, it's extremely secure. For a $20 pen, very, very good. So one might ask, what other resins are similar to the Kaigalu resin? And the Pen BBS Verdure 107 came to mind. It has that same kind of like green base and the same type of chatoyancy, but it doesn't have the variety and the swirling design that's in the Kaigelu resin. I'd say it's this Pen BBS resin is a little bit more monochromatic. Both of them are enjoyable in their own right, but it's certainly nice to see that interesting difference in the Kaigelu resin. And there is a converter filled with ink in here, and there's a converter in here with ink too. So we're comparing apples to apples as far as... So what ink to put in the Lemon Yellow Kaigalu? I've decided on this ink. I mentioned a little bit, I got a lot of ink. I don't even count, but it could be 100 bottles. This is one I've had for a while. From Robert Oster, it's Jade. I really like this. One of my earlier Robert Oster inks that I fell in love with. I really like the green color. And there's a little bit of sheen there. And the chromatography also shows some interesting colors. You have your blue and your yellow, which are the primary colors that make green, but you also have some other interesting shades in there. Certainly doesn't appear to have any water resistance, but it's the color that counts. So we're now ready to put nib to paper and put down some of that Jade ink. I think you already know I'm predisposed to really liking this pen on every level. Design, engineering, construction, build, acrylic, and as we shall see, the nib. I've already given you the specifics, which is normally in this part of the video, but I decided to put a little bit earlier, mix things up a little bit. Just a wild and crazy guy. So I would rate this nib as stiff. It's not a nail. Your horizontal lines are medium. Your vertical lines are a little bit thicker and a little bit more ink. And as you put more pressure on it, it opens up a little bit. But it's certainly not something you're going to do on a regular basis. But the pen feels great on the paper. I enjoy writing with it, and that's the important part. So you heard from that microphone near the nib that this is very smooth. I mean, it just glides across the paper. You get a little bit of feedback, but that's what's good. I'd say it's medium wet. I think it writes a little better than it looks like in the schmear, but trust me, puts down a nice line of ink. You may ask, how did I get such a wet line? Those that have Kaigalu pens may not have as much of a wet line as this one does. Well, when I reassembled it, I put the nib as far down as I could into the feed. So the distance here at the end is quite short. It's a trick that Nathan taught me a long time ago at the Commonwealth Pen Show. So the closer the end of the nib is to the end of the feed, the more ink flow you're going to get. And I'm very happy with the ink flow that I get with this pen. And what's nice again about the design is you can move that nib up and down. So if you want a drier nib, you can position it further away from the feed, extend it down, and you'll have a drier writing experience. But I like a wet writing experience. So let's rate this pen. I'm going to give it a 9.7. And it checks all the boxes. Build, construction, engineering, nib, and it looks fabulous. I like the pen, which I've said a few times. And for the price, I think this is the absolute steal right now. That may change tomorrow. It's just like, greatest of all time keeps changing because the times keep changing. But love the one you're with is a phrase that I've used in the past, and this is the one I'm with now, and I love it. I'd like to thank you for watching. And may you have many great writing experiences and find that pen that just makes you go, wow. It encourages you to put some ink on paper. Express your thoughts through words, through pictures. I think that's what the pens are for. So I hope you all are safe, healthy, and happy. If we reach the end of this video, I'm going to move on to the next video, but we're going to say bye for now. And this pen really puts down a nice line. Great writer.